Bhaja Govindam, offered by Sri Adi Sankaracharya and his disciples. Satsangatve nisangatvam, nisangatve nirmohatvam, nirmohatve nischala tattvam, nischala tattve jivan muktihi. From association with the wise comes non-attachment. From non-attachment comes freedom from delusion. Through freedom from delusion comes abiding in the self, the immutable reality. From abiding in the self comes the state of liberated in life. The word satsang is usually considered to be meeting with people and associating with good and wise people and participating in group activities. But satsang really means keeping in touch with the self, the swarupa, the atman, the brahman. It also means association with great sages, jnanis, who have already realized the self and who constantly abide in perfect peace. So, when a person associates with such a sage or the mental atmosphere of the sage and the teachings of the sage, then naturally, automatically, this results in detachment from worldly events and activities and people. Such detachment from the world results in dispassion, which means a person is not consumed by desires and passions. Thus, when one is free from desires and passions, the mind becomes quiet and motionless and stable and peaceful. Such a still, changeless, blissful being is called liberation in life. Vayasi gate ka kama vikarah, shushke neere ka kasarah, chine vitte ka parivarah, jnate tattve ka samsarah. Where is passion when youth has passed? Where is the lake when there is no water? Where are the relatives and retinue when wealth has diminished? Where is samsara, worldly miseries, when the truth is realized? This verse explains the changefulness of the world. It emphasizes that nothing is stable and reliable. When one is no longer young, there is no passion, just like what is the use of a lake if it has no water? Most people will know those relatives and friends who appear to be close and loving are no longer around when we are of no use to them. But where is samsara, worldly miseries, once the self or the truth or the reality is realized? Because the ego that creates all these problems is no longer there when the self is realized and the self alone shines as the blissful substratum. Ma kuru dhana jana yavvana garvam harati nimeshat kalaha sarvam maya mayamidam akilam hitva brahma padam tvam pravisha viditva. Do not get conceited of your wealth, your people, and your youth. Time destroys each one of these in a minute. Knowing their illusory nature, leaving all these aside, realize the state of Brahman, the timeless reality, and enter into it. Sri Shankara once again tries to lift us from too much attachment to the world and into knowing the real self, which is beyond all fluctuations of life and all pains and sufferings. Typically in this world, people get very arrogant and conceited when they become rich, especially when they are very young and when they have a retinue which caters to their every whim and fancy. Sri Shankara warns, be careful, don't get too conceited about all these transitory things, because before you know it, all these can vanish very quickly. On the other hand, be wise, know their illusory nature, and don't give too much importance to these things. Instead, realize the timeless reality, the Self, the Supreme Brahman. Consciously enter into that state and abide in it blissfully. Dinayaminyau sayam pratah shishira vasantau punarayatah kala kridati gachatyayuhu tadapina munjati asha vayuhu. Day and night, dusk and dawn, winter and spring, come and go again and again. Time sports with life, and life ebbs away. But one does not leave the storms of desires. It seems we live life by habit. We see the seasons changing, we see that time flies, we see people passing away around us, but still it does not strike us forcefully that it is important for us to know our real nature, because the storms of desires never leave us. We cling to them in spite of precious time passing us by. Kate kanta dhanagata chinta vatula kim tava nasti niyanta trijagati sajjana samgatiraika bhavati bhavarnava tarane nauka. O distracted one, why worry about spouse, wealth, etc.? Is there not for you the one who ordains? In the three worlds, the association with wise people alone can serve as a boat to cross the sea of change, birth and death. This verse is offered by Sri Shankara's disciple Padmapada. A person is usually distracted from being centered in the real self. There is always worry or anxiety about something or other, like the spouse or money or other things. So, the advice is, why are you worrying about all these things? Don't you know that there is a higher power that ordains and manages everything? Stop being concerned about these things. Instead, please understand that only association with the sages or wise people can help you to transcend the cycle of births and deaths. So, associate with wisdom instead of worrying about things over which you have no control. Jatilo mundi lunchita keshah kashayambara bahukrita veshah pasyannapi chana pasyati moodah udara nimittam bahukrita veshah. One ascetic with matted locks, one with a shaven head, one with hairs pulled out one by one, another parading in ochre robes. These are fools who, though seeing, do not see. Indeed, these different disguises or apparels are only for the sake of their stomach. This verse is offered by Sri Shankara's disciple Sankaracharya. So, the advice is not to be fooled by outward appearances to determine if one is truly a sage or a wise person. Examples are given of what a person might do to pose as an ascetic, while in fact all their disguises and apparels are only to make a living, that is, to make money, specifically to feed themselves. They are putting on a show as a spiritual person, but their real purpose is only their stomach, meaning selfish reasons. People typically think that one is a sage or a wise person if they have a long beard, hermit-like clothing, or look and sound like a saint or a hermit or a divine person. This verse warns us about the impostors, wolves in sheep's clothing, because these are fools who may see with their eyes, but they do not see with the eye of wisdom. To put it briefly, one should be considered a wise person based on their mental and spiritual advancement, and not merely on their outward appearances. Angam galitam palitam mundam, dashana vihinam jatam tundam, vriddho yati grihitva dandam, tadapina munjati asha pindam. The body has become worn out, the head has turned grey, the mouth has become toothless. The old man moves about leaning on his staff. Even then, he does not leave the bundle of his desires. This verse is offered by Sri Shankara's disciple Hasta Malaka. Every sage says that desire is the root cause of all problems in the world. This verse pities typical human nature. How a person, even though is very old and is afflicted by old age problems, still does not leave his bundle of desires. Instead of recognizing his weaknesses and the uselessness of the body when it is old, and shifting his mind to higher goals in life, he clings to his desires and longs for their fulfillment. Agre vahni prashte bhanu, ratrau chubuka samarpita janu, karatala bhiksha tarutala vasa, tadapina munjati asha pasha. In front, the fire. At the back, the sun. Late at night, he sits with his knees held to his chin. He receives alms in his own scooped palm of the hand and lives under the shelter of some tree. And yet, the noose of his desires does not spare him. This verse is offered by Sri Shankara's disciple Subodha. This verse describes the fiercefulness and forcefulness of desires. Even if a person lives in a pitiable condition, instead of pondering over it, worshipping God, and turning within to know the real blissful self, he is still caught up in the noose of desires. The word noose here signifies that being consumed by desires is like being caught in a noose. So, the advice is, beware of desires. Try not to be caught by them. Live wisely.